Mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts. How do we like our martial arts? We like them down under, mate! Whoa!
Yes, apparently we do. Not everybody loves this card, but the top two fights are very good, and I think Sydney, Australia is getting a couple very interesting championship bouts. Of course, you see Dricus du Plessis and Sean Strickland at the top of the bill. They will battle for the second time for DDP's middleweight title. And then the strawweight title is on the line as well. Weili defending against Tatiana Suarez. Rest of the card, not so great, but this is going to be a two-fight card. And this is probably going to be a two-fight preview show, but you guys are usually well in depth about the rest of the cards. You guys have thoughts and takes on certain things, and we'll discuss all those and much more on today's show. I am Mike Heck. Thank you for joining us. Apologies for the slight delay, but we are here. We are ready to talk UFC 312, and joining me to do just that is my man from Atlanta, Georgia. He'll be here in Command Center 4.0 tomorrow night to watch the festivities along with all of you on the watch party. He is the Hot Take Kid, Mr. No Gray Area, and the greatest climber of all time. He is Jed Meshew. Where is he? There he is. Hi, Jed.
Hey, buddy. I'm not as upbeat as I was last week when I got to shout mixed martial arts. Casey, what a fun way to do things. I got to live the dream last weekend when you were off gallivanting around doing whatever else you were doing, and I missed it this week. As I'm sitting here and was listening to you do it, I was like, man, I'd be so much more hyped now if I was just screaming my head off.
I'm living the life.
I mean, not everyone can. Yes, living the life. Not everybody can be Casey, but you did it. You did an admirable job, Jed Meshew. I look gigantic. Look at me. All right, here we go. Let's talk this event, Jed. 1 star. We have Sean Strickland DDP 2. The first fight was incredibly close. One of the closest title fights in UFC history, in my opinion. Weili, Tatiana Suarez, great fight. There are some other things that we can sort of dive into and try to put a positive spin on some other things, some storylines that have developed throughout the week. But are we still at 1 star? Is there even like a corner of a star you would add to this with the build of this week in any way? Or is this just 1 star and that's it?
That's it. This is maybe even a generous 1 star if we're being completely transparent here. I do think it earns it because the top 2 fights are great. I know that this week, setting aside the build to the main event, which I'm sure we'll talk about and get questions about, it's a great fight. And there has been sort of this weird reflexive pushback to that their first fight was a good fight from, the hipster parts of the MMA media have been like, you guys thought the first fight was terrible. Like, no, it really wasn't. It was not the greatest fight of all time, but it was a good competitive battle that was certainly a bit repetitive. There weren't like these big momentum swings that we get from great fights, but it was a perfectly fine, perfectly good fight between 2 of the best dudes in the world in their weight class. And I suspect we're getting that again. Like, Sean Strickland is never in an exciting fight. He is incapable of doing that, so I doubt it will happen. But it is still a good, meaningful fight. So I'm pretty pumped to see how it goes. I have questions. I'm interested to see sort of how they each come into this looking. Fairly certain how Strickland will look because he basically looks the same always, but what adjustments has DDP made? Like, it is an interesting, good fight. And then the co-main event is a great fight. Like, it's potentially a very good fight, depending on how competitive it ends up being. But mostly it is just a fight that we have wanted to see for years finally happening. Up until the time that they made weight, technically this morning in Australia or last night for us, there was still a concern that, like, I don't know, maybe Tatiana Suarez just doesn't make it to the cage. And knock on wood, a lot of things can happen between now and tomorrow night, but it seems like this is going to happen as well. So those 2 fights are elite fights. Like, they are extremely good battles. Title fights with meaning. That's enough for 1 star. They're getting no support. There's nothing else that is elevating this to anything beyond 1 star.
Outside of the, I guess, family ties, because, your big, large adult son, Dricus du Plessis,
Who's the best?
If you can only watch one of these fights, which one are you picking? Are you picking the rematch, or are you picking the fight we've been waiting years for with Weili and Tatiana?
I'm picking the rematch, though I have to think about it. I'm picking it in large part because he is my large, violent, adult idiot son, and I just can't help but love watching him compete, as silly as it is. The quote that dropped today, I don't know who. Let me see if I can pull up the exact quote. I don't know who he's talking to here. Looks like Calf Kick Sports. Everything you've learned about footwork, forget it. Footwork is not important. You start running towards your opponent and throw. Just throw. Whatever he throws, take it and throw what you want to throw. Like, this guy is the best because that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And and that's not him just like, you can tell the way he fights. He clearly internalized that. Like, that is who he wants to be. And so how can I not choose that dude as the only person I would get to watch fight this week? Like, yeah, the guy who believes that like footwork is made up. There have been a lot of people who've been like, jiu-jitsu's fake. Never heard anyone be like, footwork is nonsense until DDP came along. So he's getting my vote 100 times out of 100.
But I also said, like, take that out of it. You can't be your large adult son in this equation. We're just talking about fights for the sake of fights.
I can't. I mean, even fights for the sake of fights. Their first fight was very competitive, and we'll talk about the co-main event. I think the co-main event is going one of two ways. Either I believe Tatiana Suarez is going to run right through Zhang Weili, or she will not, and then she will in turn get summarily defeated. And so that fight is meaningful, but I think we will probably know the victor of it very, very soon. I am more likely to believe that the DDP Strickland fight could have a little more texture to it than the co-main will have.
Speaking of texture in the main event, how have you sort of gauged all the fight week festivities between everybody? Like, I didn't stay up and watch the press conference. I obviously saw clips of it. We have the weigh-ins and all that stuff and the things that are said in interviews and all that stuff. Like, how would you gauge it? Is it any different than 297? Is there a little more excitement to it because of the questions you have? Did these guys present any additional questions for you? Like, how have you gauged the build to this main event? Because I just don't know how I feel about it. Like, I don't think this week has done anything to make me any more or less excited. It's just the fight's there, and that's really what it is, right? Like, I don't know. This week has not done anything to devalue or give more value to the fight, if that makes sense.
It definitely hasn't. And I think that there are two main reasons. The first is, unexpectedly, they do you remember Sean Strickland lost his mind because DDP was like, I'm going to beat you worse than your dad. And suddenly Sean Strickland got real emotional about stuff. And so there was kind of an intensity to this. They'd had the scuffle in the crowd prior to, there was some animosity in there, real or contrived. And people were a little more want to believe that, okay, this might be something. Part two of this is, there's just nothing. Sean Strickland can't promote a fight anymore because he has one arrow in the quiver and nobody believes that arrow anymore. Like, all he can do is either talk not about the fight and just functionally promote himself by talking about Australia being a commie country or whatever dumb shit he's saying, or he can say, I'm going to come in, I'm going to fight to the death. He is the boy who cried fight to the death. No one believes that he is going to come in and go hammer and tongs. He's going to come in, he's going to jab and teep, and he's going to keep his hands and block as much shit as he can at him. It's not a criticism of his fighting style. It's a criticism of him just talking bullshit because he is not coming to the death. That is not what he is about. And so he can't promote the fight in that way. And Dricus doesn't have any animosity towards him really. So there's none of that heat there anymore. It is just, this is a fist fight between two of the 3 or 4 best guys in this weight class in the world. And my level of interest is there just because of, I saw the first fight. I think they are both very good fighters. I want to see how the second fight plays out. If it's the same, if it's different, I have my thoughts on how it'll play out, but my interest level is not from anything they've done on the mic or in promotion. It is entirely what they have done throughout their careers and in the past 12 months.
I've been saying this for a while. I said it yesterday on BTL too. If Sean Strickland does Sean Strickland things in this fight, I don't think this fight is close. I really don't. I think this is a 4-1 DDP win or maybe even a finish here. So you have to think here that Sean is going to change things up. Like talking to Eric Nixick, I know he wants Sean to go in there and approach this fight differently. He's expressed frustrations about things Sean should have and could have done in the first fight that would have helped him get the nod on the judges' scorecard. So I do think if Sean is to listen to Eric and listen to his coaches and the people that are guiding him, he will approach this differently. So you mentioned it earlier about Sean says, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to battle to the death. We're going to bleed all over the place. I'm going to give you everything that I have in there. Should he do that? Especially, I know DDP is crazy and he fights fire with fire when it comes to that, better than maybe anybody in the UFC right now. But should Sean just go right after him and just throw as hard as he can and really just shift this altogether compared to the first fight? What do you think?
I think that would be a really bad idea for him. I think Sean Strickland's fight style is not a result of him. His fight style is a result of him understanding his limitations as a fighter and building a composite game around those limitations. And so it is effective. Like Sean Strickland is not a big hitter. He has enough pop if he lands super clean, but he is not a dude who can go trade 1-for-1 and come out ahead in the exchange. He is also not like especially durable. He is not, he doesn't crumble at the first sight of opposition, but he is not a massively durable fighter either. There's a reason, watch his eyes when he fights. He looks just shy of terrified of getting touched because he understands that he does not have the chin that allows him to just wade in like Yuri Prohashka or whatever and be like, F it. You hit me and I hit you. I'm coming out ahead. He fights like a man who can't do that. And Dricus du Plessis is a dude who hits really hard and can take a pretty good licking. So if he tries to fight fire with fire, I think that's probably the worst outcome for him. He will just end up losing those exchanges. Maybe I'm wrong. Like maybe the coin flip comes up his way and he lands a super clean right hand and that's all she wrote. But I think the reason we don't see him do that is because it is not a good, just like mathematical choice for him. Have you seen him throw his right hand? It's terrible. It is not like the mechanics are wonky as hell. It's just not a thing he can do. And so he is jabs and teeps. That's what he's got and being super frustrating. And that is a very effective style for him. I think he does need to add some layers to have a chance to beat DDP. I am just deeply unconvinced he will do so because we've never seen him do it. He has never really added much to his game. It has just been a refinement of this sort of base style of his. And while I think that style can be very competitive, many people thought he beat DDP the first time around. I did not think that in real time, and rewatching it this week, I am more convinced that DDP clearly won 3 rounds there. But if he can just add what he needs in this fight, and Eric Nixick knows fighting way better than I am, so I'm sure he has other ideas, and those ideas are brighter and wiser than mine. To me, the thing he desperately needs is some form of real offense, because legitimately, as I rewatched this fight over and over and tried to get the first one and tried to get a concept of this one, it basically boiled down to Dricus tried to hurt him and Sean did not try to hurt him back. That fight is Sean just trying to point fight and Dricus is trying to physically cause him harm. And that kind of just doesn't come up well for the dude who is just trying to jab a bunch. When Dricus made the recognition, oh, he's never going to hit me. He is going to jab me and that'll suck, but I am never going to get physically damaged. I will pay no price to running headlong into him. I can do that as often as I want, and maybe he'll block the second and third shot. But if I just keep moving my arms, the fourth, the fifth one will get to him, and it will land more effectively than his jabs. That is still the equation for Sean Strickland. He needs something to change that dynamic to at least make Dricus du Plessis reconsider F it, I can YOLO my way to a victory here, because otherwise it's going to be the exact same fight as the first time.
Over under total 2.5 takedowns attempted in this fight.
From Strickland or from DDP?
From both guys. From both guys.
Oh, over for sure.
Think so. Okay.
Over for sure. I mean, DDP landed 6 in the first one. He attempted like 10 or something. Strickland even tried 1. I want to talk about Strickland wrestling. I think that might be an interesting wrinkle. I don't know if he will do it. I don't know if it's a good idea or a bad idea, frankly. I get the idea of why to do it. I also think that there is some inherent risk in that. DDP is going to use it as a rhythm breaker. Rewatching the first fight, and I think that's actually probably a bad choice from DDP. Rewatching the first fight, he shoots basically exclusively reactive takedowns, or like, oh, here's a window, and his body just triggers to it. And Sean Strickland does an amazing job of getting to the fence, standing up, breaking the gross, and breaking away. Ultimately, no damage has occurred, but it is a nice rhythm breaker for DDP. It lets him sort of get a moment, keep Sean Strickland thinking about different things. Maybe if Sean Strickland screws up, he gets to a dominant position. I personally think DDP should probably either focus a little more on keeping Strickland down, or absent that, if this is just going to be a change of pace maneuver for him, quit trying to hold Sean Strickland as long, except that Strickland's going to break your hands, and then just rifle as many right hands into him on the break as you possibly can. Just use it as a scoring position. For Strickland, DDP's best weapon in the first fight was his body kicks, and he could throw them with impunity because Strickland did not make him pay, because he does not have a counter right hand to come behind, and he didn't shoot almost ever. And so I think takedowns would be a way to disincentivize DDP. The concern there is basically the one time we saw Strickland in the first fight even like kind of consider a takedown, immediately he was in an over-under, and then DDP transitioned to taking him down off of it. And so initiating grappling sequences is a little bit risky against DDP, because he is just better at it, but it may just be like an additional wrinkle that he needs to offset some of the offense DDP is bringing. Because again, the core problem with Sean Strickland, he does not bring real offense to the table. He brings a jab, and he brings a teep, and he brings a point fighting, and DDP does not get incentivized by being jabbed 100 times. He will just walk through it to land what he wants. And so maybe he needs takedowns, simply something else to offer up.
Yeah, the grappling, the wrestling is going to be interesting, because even if DDP gets takedowns on Sean, I wonder if Sean employs the same strategy, because that was one of the things that really frustrated Eric about the first fight, was that, yeah, it's great that you can stand back up, but if he just takes you right back down, like, even though DDP's not doing a whole hell of a lot, like, the judges are seeing, oh, this guy is taking him down, and that has to result to something, even if the rules and the guidelines and what's most important is laid out in a particular way in the set of rules and how you score fights. Eric believes that Sean can sweep and improve positions and create transitions that are advantageous to him and what he brings to the table. Like, I've talked to a ton of guys who have rolled with Sean Strickland, who have grappled with Sean Strickland, and they're like, I'm telling you, this guy is an incredible grappler, but he never shows it in his fights. So I personally just want to see this all play out. Like, I want to see this incredible grappling. I want to see what the transitions look like. I want to see the stuff that I'm hearing when it comes to Sean Strickland and Johnny Eblen getting into just absolute wars on the mats when it comes to grappling and transitions and stuff and sweeps and all that. Like, I want to see this against DDP. And I think that's what Sean needs to do to have the best chance to win this fight. Like, if he gets taken down, it's not just about getting back up. It's about what can you do to get into an advantageous position on the ground. Can he land takedowns? What is he going to do when he's on top? Can he keep DDP down? Can he make DDP work off of his back? Not easy to do, but if he could do it, that is going to be huge for Sean Strickland in this fight. It's going to be massive, and I think that could be the difference here if he can pull that off. The whole thing is, will Sean do that? If Sean is Sean and he fights the way he wants to, like him beating Adesanya, that was not the game plan to beat Israel Adesanya. He just dropped him hard in the first round and then took all the momentum and just cruised with it. He just knew he could keep doing that and win, and that's what he did. So, yeah, it is always interesting when it comes to Sean, like how he will He will view things, how he will move forward in a fight, because just because they have a game plan, they've been working on it for 3 months. And for Sean, he's been working on this since freaking June, waiting for DDP. It doesn't always play out that way in the fight, especially when it comes to a guy like Sean Strickland. So when it comes to the actual fight itself, Jed, Dricus du Plessis is the favorite, minus 218. The comeback on Sean Strickland is plus 180. I've been looking at it. I've been seeing a lot of fans, getting a lot of DMs on Instagram. A lot of gambling enthusiasts are backing Sean Strickland because of the closeness of the first fight. And they kind of see a very similar fight the second time around. So they see a ton of value on Sean Strickland at plus 180. How are you viewing this from a betting perspective? How do you think this fight ultimately plays out tomorrow night?
I think the odds are a little off, but not by much. At the start of this week, before diving back in, I thought that this was close to a coin flip, a little slight edge in favor of DDP, just because he is more likely to make adjustments than I think Strickland is, for as much as Eric Nixick and company, want him to. Sean Strickland, we have just really never seen Sean Strickland make significant adjustments. He comes into every fight and does. And for whatever your criticisms of DDP, they are a camp that scouts pretty well, makes clear tactical decisions for opponents. Sometimes those tactical decisions seem super weird, but then they ultimately work out. They clearly have an understanding of the fight game and how Dricus can operate in it. And so I suspect he will not come in looking the same as the first fight. So slight edge there. As I dove back in, as I rewatched the first fight, rewatch without commentary, I promise you, you'll look at this and be like, yeah, Dricus is winning this fight. He is going to get better. All of the things I just said are true. I thought it was a more clear-cut win, on the second, third watches than I did the first round. I think this is like 65-35 in favor of Dricus. So the odds are close. They're a little too inflated, but they're pretty close to right. I just have no confidence in Sean Strickland to bring the tools necessary to win this fight outside of winning a very close decision, whereas Dricus can win that same close decision, but can also win a myriad of other ways. And I've talked a lot already about this. Ultimately, this fight boils down to who is going to be the fighter coming forward. And in the first matchup, I was not really sure. Sean Strickland is good at pressuring. Dricus du Plessis can be pushed backwards. The first round, we saw that happen a bit. And then truly, you can go watch it. And there is a light bulb moment of Dricus being like, oh, if I keep coming forward, he has to retreat. Because if he wants to meet in the middle and throw, he doesn't want to do that. So I can just win the initiative battle. And as soon as you put Sean Strickland on his back foot, he's a substantially worse fighter. Frankly, both of them are worse fighters on the back foot, but Dricus is the one who has the kind of offense and the mentality to force the issue of coming forward. And so I think Sean Strickland is just likely to be in retreat the whole time and without the tools to back Dricus off him. I think that we are on our way to a clear-cut unanimous decision win for Dricus. 4 rounds to 1, maybe a 5-0 sweep, because I don't think there will be that first round where they're kind of feeling it out. I think Dricus is going to come and set the tone instantaneously. So my pick is Dricus du Plessis by wide unanimous decision. I have a bet on the over 1.5. It's actually the climb this week is the over 1.5 in this bet, in this card. I was going to bet Sean Strickland by points. I am far less convinced to do that now. So I have no straight play on this, but that's kind of where my head's at for this one, Mike.
Yeah, I have the over 1.5 as a parlay piece as well, along with over 1.5 in the co-main event, over 1.5 in Matthews Prado, and then the under 2.5 in the Tafa Teixeira fight. I do have a straight pick on this fight, at least on the side, for a lot of the reasons you just laid out. I have DDP plus 5.5 points, or minus 5.5 points, excuse me, at plus 100. Honestly, I can't. I'm not gonna do it at minus 218. Yeah, even if I see this fight being kind of similar to the first one. I am curious to see if Sean will make the necessary changes he needs to make in order to win this fight. But Sean is so effective being Sean Strickland that he just becomes accustomed to that style, and it has worked against a lot of very good fighters. Heck, it worked against DDP in certain moments 13 months ago. Having said that, I just think DDP just continues to get better. You see improvements in every single fight. And would it shock me if Sean Strickland won a 48-47 splitty? No, it wouldn't shock me. But I just think DDP's the guy right now. He's just so good. It's his division at the moment. And the Israel Adesanya performance really opened my eyes, because that was, and I said that after this fight, and I've gone back and rewatched it since. That was the best Israel Adesanya we had seen in years. Even though he lost and even though he got finished, that was the best Izzy we have seen in a fist fight in a long time, probably since the Paulo Costa fight. And DDP still was able to take the punishment and was able to put this man away. So I think DDP wins a wide decision. I thought about flirting with DDP inside the distance at plus 215, but Sean is just so friggin' tough to put away, unless he's fighting Alex Pereira and doing the exact opposite of things you should do when you fight Alex Pereira. But having said that, I'll take the the minus 5.5, plus 100. Give me DDP to retain the belt.
I may end up taking DDP by points. I'll get a bet on this just so I can have something, a rooting interest for the watch party. But yeah, just the longer I've thought about this fight, I'll be very impressed if Sean Strickland makes the necessary adjustments and wins this fight, because I think that is just unlikely.
Yeah, it is a fascinating matchup. Like the more I think about it, but I think the first round is going to tell us a lot. Like I think it's going to tell us a lot. How will can Sean get momentum early? He did it in the first fight, but like you said, DDP's the light switch came on, and he was like, okay, I could take the best that this man can dish out, and I'll just keep coming forward and just throwing stuff back as hard as I possibly can.
It really is so clearly that too, Mike. Like I watched that fight like 3 times this week. It's the first round, Sean Strickland is doing Sean Strickland things. And then the second round, DDP is just like, nope. And suddenly he is just the dude coming forward, throwing 8-punch awful combos. His head's down by his hips. And it just doesn't like it. Like very clearly he was just like, oh, okay, I got jabbed a bunch, but he can't hurt me at all. YOLO. Like I'm just coming for him. It's the best.
Yeah, he's something else. Zhang Weili taking on Tatiana Suarez. She defends her belt. This will be her second title defense since beating Carla Esparza. She beat Yan Xiaonan pretty convincingly, and now she is back. And I talked to Zhang Weili because a lot of people have been asking, why has she been out for so long? Why is this division not moving forward? Why did she only fight once in 2024? Why hasn't she fought since UFC 300? And she told me because she was preparing to do what the UFC had wanted her to do. They wanted her to go up to 125 and fight for the flyweight title. She was preparing to do exactly that. That's why she was at Sphere. That's why she was in attendance for the Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko trilogy fight, which was won by Valentina Shevchenko. And she was ready to go. She's ready to make that move and try to make history. The problem was the UFC changed their plans. They booked Tatiana Suarez versus Verna Jandiroba. Then the UFC changed course. And now Zhang Weili defends her title against Tatiana Suarez. And Jed, she will do so as a betting underdog right now. Are you surprised by this?
Maybe a touch. Just because. So I'm not in the sense that bury the lead here. I'm picking Tatiana. I think Tatiana's going to win. I do think just based on the history here, feels like Zhang should be the betting favorite. She is obviously far more accomplished in the sport. Tatiana has been out for well over a year, has repeatedly been out. Like we know the long injury history with her. Frankly, coming in off of her long layoff, she didn't look like amazing. She got there, but she felt a little rusty, and now she's coming off another 18-month or whatever it is layoff for this one. So it does feel like, to me, this one should be like pick'em or very slightly in line towards Zhang Weili. And instead, it's kind of the opposite. It's either pick'em or slightly favored for Tatiana in most places. So, yeah, little bit off, but I also get it because, like I said, I think Tatiana's going to win this one.
I mean, it pretty much is a pick'em. Like Suarez is the minus 120, Zhang comes back at plus 100, and it's just a fascinating fight. Is your breakdown just as simple as Can Tatiana get Zhang Weili down? Because you mentioned the Rose Namajunas fight, especially the second one. Rose is able to win securing some takedowns. Obviously, Zhang has worked a lot on her wrestling since the first Rose fight, working with the likes of Henry Cejudo, doing a lot of work with John Wood and everybody over at Syndicate, which means she's getting working with the Merab Dvalishvilis of the world, which is a pretty, some pretty good people to get in there with if you're trying to improve your wrestling both offensively and defensively. Is that the biggest question you have right now? Is it as simple as that? Can Zhang Weili stay off of her back?
That's really the only question of this fight. If Zhang can stuff takedowns, can keep this on the feet, she is going to win. Tatiana Suarez has some tools on the feet, but they're not a lot of them. They are frankly not like super dangerous. And Zhang is incredibly dangerous on the feet, obviously. And so if she can stuff takedowns, she is going to win this fight. If Tatiana can get takedowns, Tatiana is going to win this fight. To me, it is like, that is the only, I guess not the only question. There's one other very small question, but that is the dominant concern. Like that is the nexus of this fight, is whether Tatiana can score takedowns. There is maybe a very small consideration of Zhang is 35 at this point. Most people probably know the stat of champions under the weight class of 170 pounds or under after the age of 35 are like 2-60 or something insane. It is just very hard to win title fights when you are 35 years or older and aren't a middleweight, light heavyweight in this sport. Zhang is 35, so there's considerations that that's just tough. Really, the consideration is, can she keep on her 2 feet? If she can, she's going to win. If she can't, it is going to be a good night in the office for Tatiana Suarez.
You picking decision here for Tatiana, or do you think she gets her out of there?
I'm picking submission, actually. I think Tatiana is going to get Zhang out there. I know Zhang has been working on her wrestling, and that will hopefully help her. I just don't think it will be enough. Tatiana brings a physicality that very few in the division have been able to match with Zhang. Like that is Zhang's secret weapon, is that she is just the physical specimen and can kind of go back to that when she needs to. She can go to the well. Frankly, much like Valentina Shevchenko, like when she might have tough fights, she would just win with physicality. Zhang has that ability in her tool belt. Not really going to play against Tatiana. They can kind of go head to head there, if maybe even a slight advantage for Tatiana. And the wrestling chops are superior. And once it gets down, I do think Zhang is going to be incentivized to scramble. We've seen her give up her back at times, and I think Tatiana can make her pay. So I'm picking 3rd round submission for Tatiana Suarez and new.
Pick Zhang Weili for me. This has... It's not exactly the same because Tatiana's been around. She's just been dealing with injuries. This screams Merab Umar vibes to me, where it's just, kind of this guy or this gal is the uncrowned champion and kind of overlooking the champ and the best in the division for quite some time. And I don't know, man. I just, the other thing about Zhang and the story to this fight is the 125 talk. And there are people who feel like, oh, maybe she's just overlooking Tatiana when thinking about this flyweight move. I think that's kind of the opposite, that she knows she needs to pass this test in order for that to happen, because if she loses to Tatiana Suarez, that's over. Like, she ain't going to 125, and she certainly isn't getting herself right into a title fight. She can still make the move, but she's going to have to work her way up. She's going to have to get a win or two before she gets a title fight, if she's going to leapfrog the man in Fioro, which is going to be tough to do anyways. But she needs this more than Tatiana Suarez does, because if Zhang wins, she can go to 125. She could vacate. She said this will be, if she wins, this is her last fight. If we're up to her at 115, she's vacating and moving up to 125. Tatiana could still fight for the belt again. But if Zhang loses this fight, man, she's done. Like, not done, but she ain't going, the dream of being a 2-division champion. The door doesn't lock, but it closes. For sure. The interest levels, at least for the UFC, that diminishes a bit unless she just makes the move on her own.
Yeah, if she doesn't win this fight, she's never fighting for a second belt. That's just never going to happen. Flyweight is too many good people, too many contenders in line. If she wins this, she can probably jump everybody who's not Manal. If she does not, then there's realistically no chance. I guess maybe if she loses this and then wins a rematch, because I do think Zhang will get a rematch if she does lose on Saturday. So maybe, like, I think the way you put it is correct. Door closes, doesn't necessarily lock, but it's pretty close to being a done deal if she does not get the win on Saturday.
I agree. This main card is, boy, Justin Tafa versus Talisson Teixeira. We got Jimmy Crute.
That man is making his
Rodolfo
UFC
Bellato.
debut and is in the feature bout against Justin Tafa. It's not like he's in the feature bout as a late replacement against a top 10 heavyweight. It's Justin Tafa. What are we doing?
Boy, if this fight gets into round 2, we're in for some trouble. And the UFC's not heavyweight. They're going to immediately regret that decision. Jimmy Crute, let's see what he can do. A lot riding on this fight with Rodolfo Bellato. We got Jake Matthews, big favorite over Francisco Prado, who, I don't know if you saw Francisco Prado weigh in his new frame at 155. It's a big man. It's a giant individual. Yeah,
because he's never been like a big dude.
He's a big dude.
Well, he's never been like a big welterweight. So, like, but he's also 22, so he can get big basically overnight. Dysfunctionally. Yeah. So I have a bet on Prado. If he is come in here looking swole, I'm going to be way more pumped about that.
He's looking yoked, as the kids say. So, Jed, what other fight on this card do you have your eye on? It's the top 2. No, what's the most interesting fight outside of the top 2?
That is legitimately a hard question to answer. I think the best fight outside of the top 2 is the Jake Matthews Francisco Prado fight. I think that is the most likely to be fun. I really like Prado. I think he's a great prospect. He's 22, has some ability, still needs to work a lot. And prior to you telling me he's a big boy, I would have said that his future is at lightweight. I now reserve judgment. We can go see how he looks. But Jake Matthews is a dude who is usually in fun fights. At one point, I thought he was better than he ended up being. Still a very competent dude. This is a fun fight at a good weight class. There are other storylines here. There are other prospects I'm interested in seeing. Cody Steele is obviously a highly touted prospect coming in off Contender Series against another dude in Rongzhu who is a good fighter. Not a good fighter, a good prospect, a guy who can develop into something. But I think for the broad public, and this is a cheap answer, but I do think it is the third most interesting fight on this card because there are so many parts at play. It's the Aleksandre Topuria versus Colby Thicknesse, down with the thickness or whatever. Because you have the Topuria versus Volkanovski storyline going on. You just have Aleksandre Topuria making his UFC debut, which is kind of interesting whether he deserves to be here. He doesn't, but his last name's Topuria. And he is talented in what we have seen of him. Granted, against dreadful opposition, he has looked good, which is how you're supposed to treat dreadful opposition, frankly. But also Thicknesse is a dude who deserves to be here. Like, this is a guy who would have been on Contender Series, probably would have gotten his shot anyway. He is a good prospect in his own right. And so that is a fun matchup of prospects. And with the sort of exterior storylines going, it's got to be the third most interesting fight on the card in totality, because the rest of these are just not.
Yeah, they need to bump this one up from the Fight Pass prelims or whatever. This is the first one on the ESPN one, I think. Did you see the picture?
I sure did.
He's a beast,
man,
huh?
It looks like a pile of cobblestones in there. Also looks sunked out to holy hell to make welter. Good heavens.
Yeah. You put on a couple LBs, hitting the weights.
Look, man, he's 22. He can just look at weights and add it. Like, he'll be fine. He can be a real welterweight if he had. He's still probably, because he has kind of short arms, would maybe be better served at lightweight. But if he's just going to bulk up and be like a welterweight hoss, that'd be cool. Yeah.
He's been a popular betting pick here. All right, let's bring in Casey. Let's talk to the peeps. Let's see what they're thinking, because obviously there's a a lot going on in the news cycle. Not a lot has to do with this particular fight card, if we're being honest, but we had some retirements. The boxing world is a little crazy right now. So what are the peeps talking about, Casey? No sleeves. He's back.
Oh yeah, I'm back. Yeah.
Oh man, I didn't even notice you took the sleeves off. You got rid of your Mercy.
Headbanger's ball shirt on.
Yeah. I decided I was fluctuating, but then you guys got me excited about the top 2 fights. I know it's not a great pay-per-view, but the top 2 fights are kind of cool. So I was like,
no one's gonna give a shit if this pay-per-view sucks. If the top 2 fights are fun, so it'll be fun.
You paid your $80, and as long as you leave, whatever, happy, then you forget about the other cards. Correct. All right, to the questions. Man, kind of slim pickings. Like the excitement level is just not there for this. It's weird. All right, what we got here?
Which fighter is the coolest name of the card? Ooh. On the card, that's easy.
Who do you think is the coolest name on the card?
Dude, Colby Thicknesse is ridiculous.
It's a great name.
Cody Steele is a great name. Cody Steele, that's pretty cool.
Cody Steele is Cody Steele honestly sounds like a fake name in a pulp fiction book. Like an Elmore Leonard novel would have some dude named Cody Steele in it. I think you guys are you're too immune to it. Dricus du Plessis is an incredible name. We're just so used to it at this point.
Yeah, that's the second best name on the card.
Yeah. But honestly, a lot of great names. Quillan Salkilld, that's a terrific name.
There's some good ones.
Yeah, Wayne Song. Yeah, good. Even Jack Jenkins. That's good names. Yeah, just
everyone loves alliteration.
Yeah.
Jack Jenkins could be in a Marvel comic for sure.
Jack Jenkins versus Parker Porter.
Nice. You gave yourself the.
Way
to go.
I thought we liked Jack Jenkins.
Hey, he gets to tell his kids the story. Like, I got in the ring.
Honestly, the better question is who has the worst name on this card.
The worst name.
It's Tom Nolan.
Yeah, it's fair. Honestly, fair.
Yeah, I mean, he's the Sean Brady of the card.
I don't know. Yeah. Gabriel Santos is just like, there are a billion Gabriel Santoses as well. So it's like,
I mean,
but yeah, Tom Nolan's a tough one. Fair.
Yeah. Sorry, Tom.
Yeah, that is.
Someone had to lose. Someone had to lose.
Yeah,
it's still a cool. Yeah,
it's a good
Tom
name.
Nolan's a fun fighter. But yeah,
you're right. You're definitely right. It's Tom Nolan. You probably went to high school with a Tom Nolan.
Like at least one.
All right. Super chat here. Here we go.
RS40. What do you think of Damir Ismagulov in the GFL? He was a very good prospect in the UFC. Can he come back again? Are we taking GFL questions? Like if a promotion has a graphic that a fight is going to happen and that a roster is made, but a card hasn't been officially booked yet, does it even count? Like, do we even need but let's just be positive here. Let's say GFL is booked. We got a card. It's going to happen. Damir Ismagulov in the GFL. Jed, is he like, can you make it an argument right now that Damir Ismagulov is the best pound for pound fighter in the GFL?
I don't think it's an argument. I think there's only one human being in the GFL roster that has a case over him, and I would pick Damir Ismagulov over Tafik Musayev based on quality of competition, based on everything. Like, Ismagulov had a weird run. He retired, but sort of didn't. His losses are to Grant Dawson and who else he lost to? Oh, I'm sorry. He lost to Armin and he lost to Grant Dawson. Like,
2 decisions.
This is a dude who's top 20 lightweight. Like, he is a top 20 lightweight in the world today. Musayev may also be a top 20 dude. Like, he's in that conversation, certainly. But it is one of the two of them are the best fighters that the GFL has on roster. And I do not think it is remotely close outside of the two of them.
That is correct. Yeah.
I don't know why the UFC cut him or whether he chose to leave to go fight in the regionals, because he did sort of retire-ish. Like, I have no idea what ended up happening there, but he should just be competing in the UFC or at worst PFL.
Yep. Thank you much, RS40. Another super chat.
Hopefully he got an advance. Hopefully he got an advance in the contract.
When everyone says they signed, not one fighter has received any check, right, from GFL.
I don't know if that's true.
I have no idea.
I mean, people got paid for doing the draft, but I mean, like actual on-camera talent. But like, I wonder, like, has anyone actually deposited money, like as a fighter? Just no, or is it undisclosed? No one's saying.
I'm sure, like Tyron Woodley and Anthony Pettis and those guys have. I don't know if Damir Ismagulov has, but I don't know.
It is. All right. Thank you. Another super chat right here.
Jose Young's BC sweater. Question: if you were a woman and married Colby Thicknesse, would you keep your maiden name or be known as Mrs. Thicknesse?
I mean, Thicknesse is an incredible name. So unless my maiden name, I like my name, but if my maiden name was something even cooler than Thicknesse, but otherwise, yeah, Thicknesse is a great name.
Yeah. Okay.
At worst,
if I married Colby Thicknesse, yeah. Say what?
At absolute worst, it's a hyphen. The Thicknesse is making the name. Even if my dad was like
Heck Thicknesse. Honestly, instead of a hyphen, can you do an apostrophe N? Heckin' Thicknesse.
Oh, okay.
That'd be pretty good.
Now we're talking.
You know what? Let's get you to Sydney right now so you can propose to Colby at some point in the post presser maybe, and then we'll put it together.
Take the red eye.
Sorry, Brian, can't do the watch party. I gotta get a new.
You gotta get there.
I gotta go. All right. Thank you, Jose Young's BC sweater. All right, what else we got here? Man, it is slim pickings today.
I think more people should do amalgam last names. Instead of just taking one, you should just make a cool amalgam last name and start your own.
All right. No, we already did the coolest name. All right.
No Dominick Cruz questions yet?
Nothing.
All right, we'll touch on that in a minute. The Quillan versus Anshul prediction.
Curtain jerker, right?
Quillan's a minus 675 favorite. Yeah,
it is now the curtain jerker with the Hyun Sung Park fight getting canceled. So,
yep. Quillan is the biggest favorite on the card by a lot, minus 675.
Very big favorite. I think Quillan's going to win. I liked him as a prospect. His biggest knock is he's not like hyper athletic, but he's solid all around, well-rounded skills, good competition. Like I think he was the eternal MMA champ prior to doing his Contender Series run. He is just a rock solid fighter who is probably going to be in the UFC for a decade. And I don't think the same of Anshul.
Yeah, the Anshul fight with Mike Breeden kind of told me everything I need to know there. Obviously, like technically solid, but to have success in the UFC, you gotta kind of be just somewhat crazy. And I don't think Jubli really has that in him, and that's okay. That's like that's he could still win fights in the UFC being just a talented technical fighter. But I think the book's been kind of written on how you beat him. You just grit down on the mouthpiece, you take what he can give, you bark at him a few times, and you can win. So, and I think Quillan is actually probably a little more skilled overall, more of a complete game overall. There's definitely holes. He's a little rough around the edges, but I think just kind of looking at what their current abilities are going into the octagon tomorrow, I would say Quillan is better at pretty much everything. So I will give him the nod there. I think he wins. Is it the most compelling fight of all time? No. Will we be doing write-ups about the fight as an individual bout? Probably not, but a win is a win, and I think Quillan gets it.
Wait, remind me when is it Jubli? Jubli? How do you say it? You know,
I think it's Jubli, but
Jubli? I'm not sure. His last loss, it was kind of weird, right? When
that was the Breeden loss when Breeden started barking at him.
Okay, yeah, just double checking. I remember there was something. I was looking at it.
He was doing well and like probably winning the fight even, and then Mike Breeden literally just started barking at him in the cage. Like he went to the dark place, and Jubli was like, "Is that Key and Peele sketch where the like the pre-fight and the dude's like, I'm gonna kill this old man,' and then the old man's like, Key is like Keegan-Michael Key is being like a crazy person. Is like, you guys can't have me fight a crazy person. That's not fair to me or to him." And then he dies. Like that was exactly what it was. Like, oh, you guys put me in here. You locked me in a cage with a psychopath. I thought we were just competing.
I'm just hyping the fight up.
Jubli won the Jubli won the first 2 rounds on all 3 judges' scorecards.
He was winning the fight, and then Breeden just went crazy, and Drew was like, I didn't sign up to fight a crazy man. I thought we were competing. I felt truly like one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen.
Yeah, I know,
of just a dude barking at his opponent and shattering him mentally.
There's so many weird things happen every week that somehow that kind of happened and we just kind of kept going. Like that should have been talked about more. There should be at least a featurette for like Dark Side of the Cage, season 3. They'll talk about that fight.
Honestly, it really should have been.
All right.
Not enough fighters who are losing just start barking at their opponents.
Just go crazy. Man, that was amazing. I got to rewatch that. All right. Thank you. Oh, we got a super chat here.
Soul Ruklop. Hi from TJ. Just want to say hi. I'm excited about the possible outcome of the main event with Poatan in the corner. Love the team up of the Topurias versus the Aussies. Vamos, Tatiana Carajo.
Oh.
Let's go.
All right. Thank you, Soul Ruklop.
Thank you.
Poatan in the corner would be cooler if it was going to lead to like a possible DDP Poatan fight, but it seems unlikely. So now it's just like an odd little wrinkle.
I also don't understand why this is such a big story. Like I really don't.
People love Poatan.
He was in the corner at 297. Like this isn't new. This isn't like the first time Poatan's cornered Strickland. Like these two have been like with each other since their first fight, since they fought. So like this isn't. I don't know. I was kind of surprised that it got like the headlines that it got, but yeah, like they're buds. They train together all the time.
Yeah.
My belief on that is that Sean Strickland desperately wants to be friends with him because he doesn't want to ever get hit by him again. And if we're friends, we'll never fight each other.
That might be one of the smartest things Sean Strickland's ever done.
It's honestly incredibly smart because he's like, oh,
can't punch
dire consequences if we weren't friends and I'm the champion, they might make me fight him at some point. Now we will be friends, and I will never have to fight him again.
Yeah, that performance from Sean Strickland was one of the like I remember being in the media room watching that fight. We were just like, what is he doing? And he just gets
one of the funniest things I've ever seen in the fist fighting world. Sean Strickland is responsible for like 2 of my 7 biggest laughs watching fist fights. Him just putting the screws to Izzy made me laugh for 25 minutes straight, and him getting ethered by Poatan made me laugh for probably a year straight. Which is I could just think back on it when I needed to chuckle.
The UFC, like I was actually envious of Casey putting together timeline because he got to go through the UFC 293 post-fight show, which is the funniest post-fight show of all time. It's just us dying laughing for 35 minutes at the result of this. And then you fight your realization
for 25 minutes.
Your realization, Jed, that Sean Strickland was going to be the fighter of the year that year was one of the best moments I've ever seen.
You guys realize what's happening, right? 6 months ago, he lost a fight. He is about to be the fighter of the year. It won't be close.
Izzy has the knockout of the year, exercises the demons, and then gets dominated by Sean Strickland 5 months later. That was such a crazy year. What else we got?
Man, 2023 was a wild time.
Strickland did the Usyk mustache. Yeah, he sure did.
Do you like it?
It doesn't seem
It
like
fits.
it's
It
great.
seems to fit him, but I mean, hey, whatever works, you know.
Yeah, makes it happy. If it makes him happy, that's all that matters. As long as Sean Strickland's
Maybe
happy.
mustache. Maybe mustache Strickland is a new mythical fighter. Who knows?
When you brought up Weili's age, someone was pointing out Tatiana is 34. So
She sure
I don't
is.
know. So that's all. It's
Yes.
like I wonder how much the age is going. I mean, the age is obviously a factor of both women at this point.
The age point I was making was not that it, as I said, the only question that I really have is just there is the like long-standing stat of being 35 as a magic number where it is very hard to have success in lower weight classes. Tatiana is not there. Zhang is. I don't honestly think that that's like going to be the deciding factor, but you know, we got to fill the content space, and that is a point.
Is that stat just for men though? I'm not sure if it covers.
I mean,
the
I
women
think
too.
this. I can't imagine the stat does not extend to women because the only fighter, none of the fighters really, as I'm like going through my mental Rolodex of champions, none of them were old.
Yeah, I think when Carla won, she's 37 now, but she was
she was
probably
at
under 35 when
34.
she won. Yeah, she was. Probably
Yeah,
34
and it's like,
when she got it
and
back,
it's also
yeah.
not. It's not 100%. There have been a couple
Yeah.
of exceptions. Zhang
Well, I
could
think
certainly
the
be
only
an
exception is Tyron Woodley. I really think the two is just all Tyron Woodley too.
That might be the case.
I remember it was just
but
like,
you
it was
know,
just
like
yeah. It was
It-
it's a crazy stat. It is a wild stat for sure.
it is just it is a stat that speaks to broad trends, but is not specific to any one individual. I don't know if we've talked about this or not this week, so I'm going to talk about this because
Go
I
for
want
it.
to mention this for this fight. If Zhang wins, I think she's one of the 5 best female fighters ever.
Ooh.
Because somebody asked me a question related to this for the mailbag this week, and reflexively, I was like, no. And then I actually looked at it. Zhang winning will basically guarantee her the longest title reign in strawweight history. Joanna's like just under 1,000. Zhang's like 180 days behind her or something. So a win on Saturday functionally guarantees her a days wide longest title reign. It'll put her, I believe, 1 successful title defense away from tying Joanna's record of 5 or 6. I think it's 5 that Joanna has. Also, Zhang is the 2-time champion because she lost it, reclaimed the belt. So you can add that. Does have the 2 wins over Joanna. I think the 5 greatest female fighters are not in the order, but Amanda, Valentina, Chris Cyborg, Joanna, and Ronda. I think that that's sort of the 5 that I would say are the top, like in that upper echelon of women's fighters. And I think a win on Saturday probably put Zhang over Joanna in that 5.
Wait, what are your 5 again?
Amanda, Chris, Valentina, Joanna,
Okay,
Ronda.
Okay, yep. That's
And
good.
shout
That's
out to
correct.
Megumi Fujii, who is a pioneer, but probably doesn't kind of make that same 5 based on who she could fight at the time.
Yeah.
But like, I think that is the 5. And I think Joanna gets bumped for Zhang if she wins on Saturday, which like nobody's talking about, but I think it is true.
It's tough to bump her out, but yeah, I kind of have to.
She'll have 1 fewer title defense, the same number of title wins because she won the belt twice. The 2 wins over Joanna, at least in Joanna's relative prime. Longer reign in days. The losing to Rose twice, like that is a knock on her, but I think it's.
But Joanna
I think
lost
it's
to
a better
Rose twice
career.
too.
Yeah, I think it's a better career than Joanna's overall. So I think this is legitimately a fight for Zhang to be a top 5 female fighter ever.
it's wild that you say that, but then we talk just slight change of subject. Talking about Rose. Rose has 4 victories over those women, no losses, and yet we don't. But she's been kind of, I don't want to say up and down, but
She doesn't have
but up and down.
stats.
Yeah, up and down at the top, but always at the top. But yeah. I know what you mean.
She had that Randy Couture thing where her peaks are incredible, but her valleys are very forgettable.
She's as like
Carla
Jed.
Esparza.
She's responsible for literally one half of the worst fight in modern UFC history. So that's tough.
She is a terrific climber, an excellent climber, but once she gets to the top of the mountain, not as quick up the mountain. But okay,
Hustle Bones. There's a specific reason you don't only measure in days. That's why I mentioned both, you dumbass. But you also count days, because that is a substantive point to this. Because when I swear to God, just think for a second. Why is it hard to be a champion? It's not hard to be a champion just because you're getting the best shot ever from the best fighters. That's the bulk of it. It is also hard because if you're doing it for years on end, there is mental fatigue to you to doing that. And we have seen many champions lose to dudes who have literally been planning to fight them for half a decade. When Max Holloway beat Jose Aldo, he's like, I've been training to beat Jose Aldo since I was 19 years old. That shit matters. It doesn't matter as much as title defenses, which is also why I added that fucking number, but it is substantive to have a reign that lasts years on end. Done.
Okay.
You are correct, sir. I think we're good, gentlemen. Anything else?
Any thoughts on Dominick Cruz announcing his retirement? So, essentially, we should probably talk about it.
Not one person asked about it. Not one person.
Yeah. So basically, he if you guys missed it, the reports had come out that Dominick Cruz is out of the fight with Rob Font. I confirmed with one person that was true. We couldn't get the other side of things, and now we understand why, because Dominick Cruz, there you go. Anyone else feel sad for Cruz? I wish he had one more moment and didn't go at the Cheeto mouth kick. Yeah, Dominick wanted one more. Multiple shoulder injuries, shoulder separations, and after the second one, I was told Cruz withdrew from the Font fight a little over a week ago. But now he's just done. And it's tough, man. Like, one of the big, like, people talk about like Zabit being one of the big what ifs of MMA. I think Dominick Cruz might be the biggest what if in MMA, and he still accomplished a shitload of stuff with the limited time in the cage that he's had, with all the injuries, all the great moments and stuff like that. But we just never got. I don't know. I feel like as a guy who enjoyed watching Cruz fight, I feel a little unfulfilled that we didn't get everything like we probably could have out of Dominick, and I think Dominick feels the same way. But what was your reaction, Jed, to this news that Dominick is done and, the legacy he now leaves behind as a former bantamweight champion?
It was a bummer. I'm not honestly a big Dominick Cruz fan. I just never was. I did not care for his style, but I can set aside my personal inclinations towards watching him fight and be like, yeah, he's pretty clearly the greatest bantamweight ever. And the question with him is entirely like, how great would he have been, right? Like, had he not been beset by injuries. He is fortunate in some ways to not have had those injuries derail a Hall of Fame career that can be, lauded unilaterally. But he is also unfortunate because there is a very real world. We will never know. It is playing the what if game. But it is very, very possible that if Dominick Cruz just had normal injury luck, he would be in the pantheon of 6 untouchable champions right now. Like, he would be the 7th in the group of John Jones, Jose Aldo, Fedor Emelianenko, Demetrius Johnson, Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, of dudes with, 8, 9 title defenses, reigning atop a division, cover your ears, hustle bones, for like 5 years at a time. Like, that is very, very possible that he would have done that. It's also possible we would have got upset by somebody because you do have to make the fights. But because he didn't, instead he is just the greatest bantamweight of all time and kind of a level below that sort of apex tier. And he is now approachable. Like, it won't be that long until Merab can catch him as greatest bantamweight ever. If Dom did not have the injury history, it is very possible to be like, yeah, Merab can just never get there. He would need to be doing this for years on end to catch the numbers he needs to get. And so he's unfortunate in that regard, but still the fact that we got a lot of great from him is still cool and impressive. And it's a bit of a bummer for this to be the way he goes out, especially because we'll never get the Aldo fight. And it's very silly that we'll never get the Aldo fight.
Yeah, it sucks. Casey, you've followed this man's career. You did a mixed martial arts with him back in the day. Any Dominick Cruz timeline that you would ever put together? Just full of so many quotes. Obviously, when he lost the belt to Cody Garbrandt sticks out. His interview with Ariel after beating TJ Dillashaw in Boston to regain the title. I was there watching that fight live as a fan. Just an incredible, underrated battle. What was your reaction to this news?
Just kind of what actually both of you gentlemen said. It's just unfortunate. I really enjoyed watching Dominick Cruz fight just because it was so unique, and there's no one else's people do those like little stencils of fights and stuff like who is this knockout? You recognize Dominick Cruz, and I don't know, it's just super cool, and I'm just bummed he had the injuries. Yeah, that's all. We just missed out. That's all. And probably maybe the most underrated trash talker in this sport. Like I loved his trash talk. It was just so matter of fact and just mean. Like when one of my favorite trash talk lines ever when he fought UFC 199. Yeah, when he fought Faber. And he said something to Faber. He's just like, yeah, whatever, you and your close eyes. And then and then Faber just kind of like sat there for a moment like, oh.
How do you respond to that?
And the whole crowd just went, oh man, that's just mean. You and your close eyes. I was like, that's just cruel. But no, happy trails. And man, even those, I was just looking at those photos he posted of him in the look like some kind of ER or whatever from training. Whatever happened in training, like he couldn't even take his gloves off or his wrestling shoes off or his knee pads off. Like he was in the emergency room office or whatever, just like sitting there with his training gear on, just like, and kind of, I think in his mind, knowing the pain he felt and the fact that he couldn't even like get his gear off to go get in a car and go to the hospital. He's just like, I can't actually imagine kind of that pain that was going through his mind, going, yep, this is it. This is it. As
a man who's dislocated my shoulder well over 100 times, that's a super fucking dislocated shoulder.
Yeah, and you just like
it's super not fun.
It just hurts, and you're like, and like you know,
can't really move your arm. It's just there. It just sucks.
Yeah, and oh, this is next minimum 6 months, 9 months of my life. This is what I have to deal with. Yeah.
Because he's almost, if he's tore it out multiple times, almost certainly he tore his labrum, which is the TJ thing that when TJ tried to fucking fight Aljo with a labrum that didn't exist, like he'll just have to get it surgically repaired. And that's, it's 9 months.
Minimum. Yeah. You just know it.
It sucks so hard. It sucks so hard. The most uncomfortable I've maybe ever been in my life.
Yeah. I have shoulder issues too. And like every time I try to post on it, I'm like, oh, it don't happen today. Like I'm just kind of, you just kind of hope that it doesn't happen that day where it just, because it's just done. Yep. So I'm just bummed that we didn't get a real proper goodbye to Dominick Cruz. Yeah, I get it. Like he's a divisive personality, whatever. But in the cage, especially at what I consider my favorite weight class. I'm just going to say my favorite weight class so we don't do the whole, it's the best. My favorite weight class, the bantamweight. He is the original GOAT in a division that there are no GOATs in because it was so hard to stay at top. So happy trails, Dominick Cruz. And I hope, the post-fighting career makes you, post-in-cage fight career makes you happy.
He's 100% getting inducted into the Hall of Fame this year.
Good. Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
Just now that he is officially retired, it will be a matter of months until maybe, honestly, it might be like UFC 312 where he is in the booth or something, and they're like, "Hey, Dom, guess what we're doing?"
Yeah, the next time he's in attendance for an event with fans, they're going to give it to him. They're going to
because
and they should.
And because honestly, I was trying to think like, because I was thinking about this a couple weeks ago, like who are the no-brainer Hall of Famers coming up? Because like surely there are a couple like people who are just very obvious, and like there aren't actually that many of just the most glaringly obvious Hall of Fame inductees. Dom is now one of them. Dom retiring is like, yep, no questions asked. He'll get in first ballot.
For sure.
Okay. Weili's gonna be one, too. Yeah.
Weili will absolutely be one whenever she retires.
Yeah. The rest we'll see.
Did Nunes go in yet?
No, Nunes is the one who I was like, because I was trying not to do active fighters. It was like, who are the people going to go in this year? Like, who's the crop who just must? And Nunes is like one. There are a couple of active fighters there are plenty of active fighters actually, like Usman, Izzy, Shevchenko. Like, there are plenty of active fighters who are there, but like, who are just the retired people who will get it, and this is just now they're eligible. Nunes feels like obvious. Dom feels obvious. I mean, Demetrius is obvious.
Oh,
yeah, he should.
There's a little
this year.
Well, there's a little question with Demetrius. I don't think it will ultimately matter, but like Demetrius is obvious. So there are a few, but not that many. Just like, oh yeah, they must go in this year.
Oh, of course, Demetrius goes in. Dana has been singing his praises and defending him all these years, right? Remember, that's what he said. I've been the one defending him. When everyone shit on him, I was the one defending him.
Did he say that after Demetrius came out and was like, the UFC sucks and I'm really happy I ended my career and won?
Yeah, it was right after he retired. So there you go.
Also,
we should
this is a hell of a Hall of Fame
we
class if it's Amanda, DJ, and Tom.
Yeah, it's pretty damn good. And also, how about Canelo Alvarez pulling? If you want a comparison to the MMA, Canelo Alvarez pulling a Dustin Poirier ahead of UFC 299, doing the hey, I haven't signed anything to fight Benoit Saint-Denis in order to get more money. It's a little different in boxing. Canelo's like, all right, I'll fight Terrence Crawford. Then he's like, nah, I'm gonna make way more money to fight Jake Paul. And then he makes Turkey give him way more money in a 4-fight contract. And now he's not fighting Jake Paul. He's fighting Terrence Crawford again. He'll fight in May, and then he'll fight Terrence Crawford. Canelo Alvarez
he's going to fight like Charlo in May. It's garbage.
Yeah. Canelo
Alvarez is very good at prize fighting.
Yeah.
He's very good at prize fighting. He is lighting his goodwill on fire over the last few years of his career. I do not know how his legacy will stand up given how he has managed the end of his career, but who gives a shit? He's going to have a whole lot of money, I guess.
Yeah. Could dry those legacy tears with $100 bills and lots of them. So
like he outprize fought Jake Paul, and
he sure did.
I thought Jake Paul was kind of like the pound for pound prize fighting king, and no,
Not
Jake
anymore.
Paul got. Actually,
Jake
we got
got.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Yeah, Jake got, and
Jake's mad too. Jake's so mad.
Yeah. Jake be mad.
Oh, Jake mad. Fair. I'm sure Netflix is mad too. I'm sure like it was whatever. It was a man. I would love to hear some behind the scenes madness on that. I haven't heard too much, but I'm sure.
The funniest thing is Turkey's like, I'm a dog, man. Don't mess with me. I'll always come through. And Canelo in the background is like, you didn't do anything. This is me. I made you do this.
You're a dog. You just added another 0. That's all.
Yeah, you just thank you. Like I did this. You didn't do it. I did. All right, let's see the super shots before we get out of here.
Yeah, before we get out.
Chase, is it me or are all the announced headliners so far just mediocre? Are we going to get any mega fights this year, or will be more of the same? I love the look. Islam Makhachev is supposed to fight Arman Sarukian. I love that fight. Strickland DDP is interesting because the first fight was so close. I love Pereira versus Ankalaev. Like I know I'm on an island with very few people.
That's a great fight. It's a great fight.
It's a great fight. It's a great fight. Like this is the answer all the questions about Alex Pereira fight in a lot of people's eyes.
Cop Royval is a great fight too, but it's not happening anymore. So that's just unfortunate. Yeah. But that was a great headliner. Edwards JDM is a really, really good fight.
It's a great
fight. A fight night. That's a terrific fight.
Cejudo Song Yudong is not like the greatest fight, but it's a
fine.
good main event. Solid main event.
It's a perfectly fine event for what it is. Also, just like the same time last year, there weren't any good ones. Like
Yeah, we had DDP Strickland. We had Topuria Volkanovski. That was a good one.
that was good.
And it's too bad John Jones just got booked in a massive fight, but not in the UFC.
He's taking on the American healthcare system though, so
Yeah, so
that's
that's
the fight of his life.
yeah.
Hashtag and
I'd
still.
pay money to
what was-
hear John Jones' thoughts on Medicaid for all, because I said it's not. I bet it's not what you think it is, based on his new allegiances. I don't know. Yeah, man. Like the UFC has dropped off in quality consistently over the past several years.
But yeah.
This is
We had O'Malley versus Vera. We had UFC 300. Then we had
There will be
301. This is
watermarks.
Panther Nurseg.
There will be high watermarks, and most of it will be pretty mid. I believe it was Luke Thomas who was like, this is the extracting value phase of Monopoly where there is no other game in town. You are forced to come to them. And so they are finding the lowest price point they can sell you. What is the biggest pile of turds that you will still buy on pay-per-view? That's how they're doing it. This is not a product built to please consumers. It is a product built to extract value. And so sometimes it'll be good, and there will be high watermarks. The two main fights this weekend, I think, are very good. But this is being an MMA fan in 2025.
Yeah. And how dare you besmirch the middleweight fights we are about to get in main events? Jared Cannonier versus Gregory Rodriguez. And on top of that, mark your calendars for Saturday, March 15th, the rematch that the world has been clamoring for, shouting it from the rooftops, Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze. 5 rounds inside the world's most famous Apex. Come on.
That's a really funny fight, though, because Marvin Vettori coming out and being like, I thought it was the other Roman is the funniest shit I've heard all year. I thought I was signing on to fight the other guy named Roman Kopylov or whatever, and instead I'm fighting this dude that I just fought is unbelievably amusing to me.
Yeah.
When people say the mega fight, though, are we? What is the mega fight? Like, what are we talking about? Is it outside of
It's John Jones fighting Alex Pereira or Tom Aspinall. That's really the mega fight.
That's it, right?
Or a champ v champ fight. Like any champ v champ fight, they'd probably accept.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's very limited when I does this super fight or mega fight. Yeah.
We'll see what happens in April. We'll see if they do Topuria Volkanovski too, or if Topuria fights Makhachev. We'll see what happens there.
That doesn't even feel like if he fights Makhachev, obviously. Even the Volk too, like that's big names, but no one's that pumped because of what happened the first time around. Like there are a lack of stars in the UFC now. That's what
there
it
are
is.
0 stars. The 3 letters of the star. Dana White is the star.
Well, yes, but like there are also stars because there are always stars in a sport. But like there is Alex Pereira and maybe Topuria, and that's kind like there just aren't that many of them left. So we're in that lull period.
If Conor McGregor fought, I mean, Conor would probably still sell $1 million. There ain't nobody else in that roster selling $1 million right now. Nobody. But they don't need it either.
Alone, no.
Yeah.
No, they don't need it either. So, Chase also adds, I think it's because we're on the cusp of John versus Tom, which might be the biggest fight we've had in years, and we're not getting it. And I'm more and more convinced that we're absolutely not getting it. So, Dana White in 2 months went from. Did you notice Dana White in less than 2 months? I was in the room in Tampa where you 100% guaranteed that we were getting John Jones versus Tom Aspinall. And then 6 weeks later, it is, yeah, man, we're absolutely going to move on from John Jones if we don't have this fight booked soon. Like, I ain't buying it. I don't think it happens.
I have been firmly of the opinion that this fight will never happen. And until they are locked in a cage, I will not believe it is happening.
Yep. Thank you, Chase. All right, 2 more super chats before we get out of here. So stop submitting them, people.
Killers, hey guys, this isn't fight related, but do you have any advice on getting through tough times in your life? Been tough here lately and feel a bit lost. Wow.
Sorry, but loaded
You should
quick.
definitely. I mean, Jed? You want to go first? What do you got?
I mean, I have no wisdom in this that everyone else will not offer you. I can just say that the wisdom that they will offer you is correct. Lean on your family, or friends, the support systems you can in such times. Absent that, I have always found staying busy, be that physical activity or pursuit of goals and targets, is a good way to not lose yourself in grief or hardship or whatever. And so, and if nothing else, just go be outside. Being outside
Yep.
makes almost everything better than being inside. So, but truly, nobody has any special secrets or wisdom here. It is all the stuff you hear all the time. It is hard to internalize that and act upon it. I understand that totally, but the simple answers are the correct ones here. It is just a difficult thing to do.
Yep.
Yeah. If you have good friends, spend as much time you can with your friends. That's all. Friends and family. Just that's all. The people around you. If you have good people around you, yeah, life can be shitty, but get some good people around you, hopefully, and make the best of it. Yeah. Because life is tough. That's all.
It is tough. Lift heavy weights, slam them on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Get so exhausted that
good
I'm just
time.
going to take a nap.
It's a good time. I'm telling you.
Getting tired is
they're
a
tough.
great way to be sad.
Slam weights.
Yeah. It is amazing, though, being in a bad mood and like F it, I'm going to go to the gym, get a good workout in, and like 20 minutes into it, you're kind of like, oh, I forgot why I was miserable, because now I'm just like, I just got to make sure this thing doesn't fall on top of me.
No, now I'm miserable about something else.
Something else, yeah.
Yeah.
Miserable about that goddamn weight I have to pick up again. Stupid bitch.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I keep lifting
You
it
got
and it
this,
keeps
Gills.
returning to the floor, and I have to keep picking it back up because it won't stay in the air.
That's right.
But thank you, Achilles Jr. I hope things get better for you, and we'll make sure to tell New York Rick he sucks. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that is also a great way. If you just take your sadness out on others, particularly New York Rick.
Yeah. Rick's a great target. Go get him.
If you can't lift yourself up, tear others down to your level.
That's the American way.
Yeah.
we finally got
USA.
there. USA. Thank you, Achilles. And our last super chat before we go home.
Back to the Silver Cup. Mike, Cruz is the man. When I started to be a fan of the UFC, enjoy his rivalry with Cody and his press conference when he lost the belt. Class act. Yep. Sure is. I know a lot of people don't love Dominick Cruz as a color commentator either. I'm not a huge fan when he's with certain people. When he is with Paul Felder, he is much better. Like, he is much better. Because Dom is an alpha. Like, sometimes when you throw the alphas in there together and they have to talk over each other and they want to be the most correct, more so than being the most informative. And sometimes those go hand in hand. But when you have Felder, who's just about like getting information out there, and then Dom is just going right on top of that great information, like those two work terrific together. But Cruz in a booth with Bisping, tough scenes. Cruz in a booth with Cormier, tough scenes. But when him and Felder together, they're great. So hopefully Dom could really focus on that, focus on what scoring criteria is, and just being the best at that gig, and focus more on that gig and the rules and the things that go into, you know, being a great color commentator in the best fight organization in the world. So, yeah.
I would like Cruz kind of come in more as that Dean Thomas type of role. You know, like kind of beginning of the round. I know it's just a little less is more with Cruz, because I really like Cruz's analysis. I mean, I get everyone's off.
Cruz should be on
sometimes
the desk.
Throw him on the desk. He should be on. I'd like to see him on the desk a lot more too.
He should be on a desk.
Yeah, like he's clearly.
I hate him in the booth.
Oh, you hate him.
I think he has actually improved very slightly from when he first started. I still cannot stand him in the booth. He should be a desk analyst. 100%.
Sometimes when he's wrong, he's just like really wrong. But
he digs his heels in so hard, and also
Agreed.
90% of his fight analysis is how he would fight.
How he would fight, yeah.
Which is deeply unhelpful considering, one, he was such a unique fighter anyway, and two, like, not everyone has your skill set, so like that's not really good. And like, I hate him in the booth. I think he's a much better analyst.
Yeah, he sees everything strictly through his
yeah. And so like, to me, he just should be on the desk and never in the booth. But there are two commentators that I don't hate, so it's fine.
Yeah.
My longstanding belief: commentators have a 3-year shelf life and then swap them out. You got plenty of fighters who can do that.
Agreed.
I think we're
Good,
good.
Mr.
All right, hit the music. We're out of here. I mean, normally we'd be like, hey, stay tuned MMA Fighting for ceremonial weigh-ins and the Q&As and the things of that nature. But those already happened like several hours ago. So if you're just waking up and you're watching us and you're excited about that stuff, you can go back on our YouTube channel. You can watch the Q&A. You can watch the ceremonial weigh-ins. You can watch all that fun stuff. We will have the People's Pre-Fight Show tomorrow at 5:15 p.m. Eastern. Watch Party 9:45 p.m. Eastern. Shout out to the great Jose Youngs in Sydney, logging the miles. And we're just going to have a good weekend. Like, I know the card isn't great, but as I say every time before these watch parties, no one's going to have more fun watching than myself and Jed Meshew. And Jed has left. He's gone. I smell a gimmick coming. There it is! Shoot it! Yeah! The money gun. The money gun will be.
We have multiple money guns now, Mike. It's going to be a fun time.
Yes, we get the new background, the new wall color.
$100 bills. Those are $100 bills.
$100 bills, y'all.
Right. They
We'll
pay
give you
me
your money's worth
obscene amounts
tomorrow.
of money to work here. You wish
Yes.
your job was my job.
Thanks for watching. Love you guys. Good night, everybody.
Love y'all.